your perspective on some of the goal line stuff this past weekend. Felt like it was maybe more challenging than it had often been this year when you were in goal-to-go situations. When you look back at the tape, what was particularly challenging?
Well, I think it's like anything else. When you bring a bunch of bodies in, heavy bodies, they bring a bunch of guys, and you basically have 22 people within the hashes. So there's not a lot of space. We don't really run the quarter. We have not run the quarterback a lot in that situation, so you're going to always be outnumbered. But and give them credit too. They've got good players over there too, and made some plays. But in the end, we were able to still punch things in, and offensive line was able to move people still and get the ball in.
Questions about Miyan and Trey, so I'll ask you about Mitch.
About Miyan and Trey.
Mitch had some fun with us last week
Yeah.
in talking about, am I a tight end, am I a fullback? How much have you enjoyed working with Mitch in that spot?
Yeah, so Mitch, when he first came here, he was a running back when he first came. Coming out of high school, and I ran for a bunch of yards down at his high school down in the Tennessee area. So he has some of that background in him. And so it's been good. Now, do we spend a lot of time? I don't spend a lot of time with him. I mean, he comes down a little bit, every day just to do a couple little things, some ball exchange stuff with the quarterbacks and the running backs. But we won't spend an exuberant amount of time with him as well. But yeah, it's good for him, and it's good for our football team. It gives us another dimension. It gives us another playmaker that can do some things for our offense. So it's been really good.
Front row left, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Tony. Obviously, Miyan has developed well as a back. Have you even seen him develop as a young man? The reason I ask is I remember talking to him when he was a freshman. He'd barely say 2 words to us. Now he's very engaged and just seems to be a lot more confident as a young man.
Yeah, I think he's becoming more confident in his own skin, but definitely seen him mature as a young man, as you would expect, especially in this program. But he's been through a lot. That guy's had a lot of personal challenges in his life, and he's been through so much. I'm extremely, extremely proud of the young man that he's become. He's a guy that this entire program leans on and loves him. He's got this engaging personality that when you first meet him, because I gotta be honest, when I first met him in recruiting, I was like, what the hell is this? This guy doesn't talk. But as you get to know him, he's got the kindest, biggest heart. He cares about his teammates. He's a team guy, consummate team guy. He's fun. He's engaging. He brings so much value into the running back room just with his attitude, infectious attitude, and he brings that to me every day. So aside from playing ball, he brings a lot of value to me personally.
One more quick one for me. How's a guy like T.C. Caffey fall through the cracks? I know he had one FBS offer, Army. I'm sure you're thrilled that he did. Getting him as a walk-on, he had one of the best careers in Ohio high school football.
I can't answer. I can't answer that. You'd have to ask all those other schools that missed. But no, we were fortunate to get him. And I haven't really me personally, haven't gone out and actively recruited a walk-on like I did a scholarship player. And probably that's my own fault. But I did with him and his family. And was I told him way back when, if there's some things that come on the rise for you and your family that you think are in their best interest with scholarships, by all means, I understand, take it. But if not, and this is something you'd want to entertain, here's what we have for you. And that's what they wanted to do. He's a Buckeye and grew up in this great state and wanted to be a part of this program, and we are thrilled to death to have him because he's going to be a good player.
Thank you.
Third row left, Dan Hope, Lebanon Warriors.
Tony,
Yes, sir.
you guys signed Miyan in 2020. There were a lot of questions about running back recruiting at that time.
Because that guy couldn't recruit.
Does that make
I know.
Does that make it more satisfying to see what he's doing now?
Well, it's not about trying to satisfy any of you guys or anybody. Because hell, just go home. No one's ever satisfied at my house. So, but no, in all reality, we just want to get players that can help our football team and help our program and help us win. And so that's what we got to Miyan, and a lot of people, to your point, a lot of people would have said, well, he's not that highly recruited, but we saw some things in him, obviously, and just some sheer and raw toughness, just the way he plays the game. And he's an Ohio kid, and if we can recruit Ohio players, that's what we're going to do. And so it's been great, and he's, like I said, he brings so much value to this football program, and he's a damn good football player.
Did you always think Miyan could get to this level, or has he even exceeded your expectations?
Oh, I don't know. I try not to put expectations on our players, on our kids. try to not to put a ceiling on them, and just coach them to be the best that they can be. And as we continue to grow and climb, we'll go where we can go. But I try not to say, well, I expect this, and all of a sudden if he can exceed it, I'm not going to put that ceiling on him. And I don't think that's right to do to any player for that matter. But here's what he is. He's tough. I mean, he is rugged, and he's a violent player. And we saw that in high school. We saw that his true freshman year. And it's just continuing to be the guy we think he could be.
Left, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Hub.
Tony, what's it like for an assistant coach when you're recruiting and you really, really like a player, but there's no room for him?
It's tough. It's hard. And, but that's part of being part of a program like this. You start recruiting guys. And I think the hardest part about recruiting is you build these impeccable relationships with kids and families. Sometimes you get them, right? There's sometimes eventually you got to turn and walk away from them, and where you had a scholarship as you're going, and then all of a sudden you don't. And so that's hard. And it's hard to look young people in the face and say, I know you may want to be here, but we just don't have room. But that's the business side of it. And at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer too. At the end of the day, if you build those relationships the right way, kids and coaches, we're all diligent about the work that we do, that everybody eventually fits where they're supposed to fit.
Was Miyan in danger of being one of those guys that you wanted but didn't end up a Buckeye?
Well, he was a guy, again, we were on some other guys. Now, he was always right there, and we were always talking to him. And but at the end of the day, we didn't know where it was going, and it kind of fell back into his lap a little bit. And then he had some decision to make. Remember, he was committed to Iowa State. And he could probably tell you more about it, but I mean, I quite frankly, I think he was pretty pissed at me, Well, no, he was pissed at me, but and I've told a story before that long story short is, first impressions do go a long way, but they also can be wrong sometimes too. And like I said, he didn't talk much. He kind of sat there and didn't say much. He wasn't very responsive to things that I was trying to say to him or do with him, as far as calls and text messages and driving an hour and a half up here. And so I was kind of like, well, maybe he doesn't want to be recruited by us. But it really came down to, I think he might have felt that I had slighted him a little bit. And then as I got to know him, I went down to him, and at the time was his head coach, Coach Parker. And I remember sitting him down in the weight room. We're sitting there, and I said, I have to apologize to you. Whether you come to Ohio State or not, I have to clear my chest here. I have to apologize to you because I had the wrong impression of you, and I was wrong. And I think that I hope to think that was probably a big moment in our relationship, that hey, I was wrong. And as I've got to know him more, I saw, no, this kid's got something about him. And he may not talk a lot on the onset, but he's listening and hearing everything. And he's about as respectful as a young man as you could get.
Has he apologized to you?
No. No, and there's no need to. He would never have. He didn't do anything wrong, And but he's a highly competitive kid. He really is, and I think the one thing that he brings in the room, that really our whole room is that way, is they champion each other's efforts, and there's zero selfishness in that room. And for me to walk into a room like that, it's an absolute joy to be a part of.
Second row left, Steve Hellwagen, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach, I know you can't go into the nature of Travion's injury, but can you recount, I guess, what exactly transpired, how that all kind of went sideways before?
Yeah, it was. That's something that he and our medical staff that came in, and obviously we want all our players to be healthy and be ready to play. But at the end of the day, we're going to defer to our medical staff. And when they came in and said, "Hey, here's what we feel is going on with him," and in conversation with Trey, and here's what we feel is best, and within seconds we moved on, and made the adjustments necessary.
I know availability is an important part of this whole thing. You've got to be on the field to play. Does what Miyan showed you in that game lead you guys to, as a staff, to maybe reconsider the roles of those two guys if Travion is completely healthy? And I'm not even into this whole starting thing or whatever, but just number of carries, the roles for these guys.
No, I mean, I look at it as we have two starters. I have the whole time. I not looked at it as this guy's got to be, he gets so many more carries or this. I just don't function that way. We have 2 guys that are capable of being starters here. We have 2 guys that are capable of playing championship level football, we believe. And we're going to use them accordingly and how we need to use them to help win games. And, I get asked the question during training camp every year, well, do you want to do things by committee, or does there have to be some a bell cow, as people put it? And I say the same thing every year. I don't care. I want to win games. We're here to win games. We're not here to stack up stats. If stats come with it, then fantastic. But we're here to win games, and however we have to do that, that's how we do it.
Second row middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
A non-mine question, but from what you were watching in preseason camp, where did things change for Dallin Hayden? Was it something that as soon as he got here, you saw maybe more than you were expecting?
You get seen more and have opportunities to flash, if you will, and to make plays. So I think that the rep count up for him, and it helped him, obviously, because now he's getting to play and getting some experiences that maybe he might not have otherwise as many. And so that I won't say it's a benefit, but that afforded him more opportunities, and that's kind of where it started to show up.
Right next door, Doug Lesmerises, Cleveland.com.
Tony, the offensive meetings that you guys have when you're sitting down in the middle of the week and getting ready to make the game plan for Saturday, can you just tell us kind of what it's like in that room, and as an assistant coach, what's the balance of, hey, I want to get my ideas in there, but also, the meeting can't be 10 hours long and you're doing the structure.
We have a structure of offense that we run, and myself, Coach Day, Coach Hinton, Coach Fry, we kind of go off and we'll start doing the run game. We kind of sit down and say, okay, here are the things out of these certain formations that we like, and based on the defense that they present. And then we'll come back. We leave and we come back as a full staff and kind of just put it all together. And then we kind of interject. Well, here's the pass game, and here's the play action passes that go along with things. And so we just kind of piece it all together. And but again, everyone has a say. Everyone has an opportunity to express things that they think would do to enhance. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of like being in a family, right? At the end of the day, when we walk out the door, we're going to all be on the same page. We can't do everything. People can't get upset, and if their idea isn't used, that's okay. And we do what's best to put our players in the best position to be successful based on what they can do that works in the confines of our offense. I don't know if that answers your question.
What's Ryan like running the meeting?
He's the best. And I'm not saying, you say, well, you better say that, right? No, actually, the guy is amazing. And I've told him this before. I've been doing this a long time, and I've worked for numerous head coaches, obviously, in different stops and different schools. And, I've been fortunate. I've never had a bad job. But I do believe that Ryan Day is one of the all-time top guys I've ever had the pleasure to work for and with. And I say with because he does not make you feel like you work for him. You work with him. Just the man that he is, he makes everyone feel valued and heard. So that empowers you to do your job. It empowers you to do your job and to have ownership in what you do, because he allows that. And not only does he allow it, he promotes that. But he does the same thing with our players. And so I am indebted to be able to work with a guy like that.
Right in front of him, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Tony, could you kind of give your assessment of how Treviano has played this year?
He's done okay. He's done some good things. So I think, I think some people might be remiss because he hasn't had some of the big runs that he had earlier last year. But he's still doing some good things. And, is there room for improvement? Sure. Yeah, there's room for improvement in everybody's game. But he has not played poorly whatsoever. I think he might be a little frustrated because there haven't been the long, dynamic 50, 60, 70-yard runs. But those will come. Those will come.
What do you want to see him improve?
I just think, some of the vision things, and I think attacking, second, third level defenders. And kind of making some guys miss in the back end of the defense. But a lot of that's on me, that I could be doing some things that could probably help more as far as drill work and things like that. but he's done some, but he's done some really good things for this offense, and he will continue to. And you're still talking about a guy that's ripping off, I don't know, 6.5, 7 yards a carry. I mean, that's pretty damn good. You know, I think where he's really improved is his blocking. You know, so he's still doing some very good things in our offense, and we're going to expect him to continue to enhance those and get better.
Right next door, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Tony, just wanted to ask your thoughts. I haven't had Steel Chambers in your room for a few years and watching what he's done at linebacker now. Just what do you make of his success in the other side of the
Yeah,
ball?
well, so when we recruited Steele, one of the things, a lot of people didn't want him as a linebacker. As a matter of fact, our defensive coaches wanted him as a linebacker, but he wanted to play running back. And so we took him as such, and we didn't have the conversations early in his career that if you're not getting a ton of reps on offense, we will possibly approach you about playing defense. You can always reserve the right to say no. But he said yes to it. He just wanted to play. So it doesn't surprise me that he's doing well over there. I think it was about maybe 20 seconds after his interception. I was like, well, this is why you're at linebacker, you know. But no, he's done well, and I'm very proud of him. I'm happy for him. He's helped his football team. He's helping himself. I think it's been a good situation for everybody involved.
Right next door, Tim Maine, Letterman Row.
Tony, I don't know if you remember this far back, but you used to play running back.
That was I don't remember. That was so far long ago.
When you look at a guy at this level, you know, I think only running backs maybe can even relate to this, but the violence that from play to play, I mean,
Right.
19 times out of 20, you're going to get knocked down pretty hard and stuff. And Miyan seems to have the ability to kind of throw punches back a little bit. You know, what are you looking for when you're looking for a running back? And in that regard, I mean, can he be tough enough? I guess is the question. But number two, what just stands out about Miyan in that area?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think he's about 3 feet tall. So, but Miyan doesn't give him much surface area to hit. You know, it's all shoulders and thighs, and he's so strong. You know, the lower half of his body is like hitting tree trunks, and he does a really good job of speeding up into contact. And you know, conventional wisdom would say, if you're like the analogy of driving a car, when you're going into contact or hit a car, if you're to have a car accident, you hit the brakes and slow down. Well, this is a little different. You have to speed up into contact, and he's an uncanny way of speeding up into contact, driving his legs into contact and through contact. He's got really, really good contact balance, so he's able to take shots and bounce off of them and still keep his balance. And he's a load. He's 225, 227 pounds. So yeah, but he has an uncanny ability to be able to speed up into contact, and then he reduces the surface area in his pad level, so there's not a lot to hit.
Yeah, but it's also a willingness to do it. I mean,
Absolutely.
or
You got to be a
desire.
willing combatant. Yeah, no doubt. You can't be soft.
Yeah, can you look in his eyes and see when he's really? I mean, in a game, what
All you got to do is
like
talk.
looking in
Well,
his eyes?
you just got to talk to him. I mean, it's not about just in game. I mean, just sit down. If you sit down and have a conversation with him, he's a tough guy, and he's a very motivated guy, and there's nothing soft about that kid. I mean, now again, he's very nice and he's humble and all those things, but he is a tough guy.
Got time for 2 more questions. Front row right, Austin Ward, Rivals.
97.1 The Fan.
Tony, just to clarify, what you say every training camp is that you don't have a crystal ball, not that you don't care.
I said that. I want to clarify that.
Yeah. Do you tell me how off base this may or may not be? Do you see anything, or did you see anything with Trey before the foot that reminded you of 2018 with JK and wanting to take the next step as a sophomore, and he wanted to hit home runs and sharing time with Mike and all that?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I mean, I think everything is individualized, and I got to be honest with us. I'm not gonna allow people to paint a picture of this kid's not playing well. And no, I'm not saying that you did, but no, I didn't see that, and I haven't seen that. So I just think circumstances, we are where we are, and there's some things that we can do better, and he can do better, and I can do better. There's some things that Miyan can do better, and Dallin and my whole room. So we're not a finished product. We're in week 5, and we're going to keep swinging. And again, we're just trying to win as many games as we can, however it looks.
And final questions right behind him, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Tony, when you're recruiting to a room that could very well end up looking like what you have now when there's essentially two starters, as you said, is there a personality trait that you look for in high school players that tells you they can excel in that kind of environment as opposed to one where they're getting 30?
Yeah, I think just unselfishness, and team guys. And that's why when recruits come here, and we're fortunate to get them on this campus, obviously I spend a lot of time with them, but I want them to spend time with our players. I want them to spend time with Trey and Evan and Miyan and Dallin and TC. I want to spend time with all those guys because they'll be able to tell me too what's really going on. How does this kid really think? But that's the biggest thing. Just besides the skill sets, right? You're talking about the personality traits. Just a guy that's very, very unselfish. A guy that that understands and values hard work, and loves to play football. I mean, loves none like to play, but loves to play. And just because a guy flashes on tape doesn't mean he outruns everyone, doesn't mean he loves the game. He might just tell you, he might just be better than everybody else. But do you love this game and all the stuff that comes around with it? Because it's not easy. It's not easy, and you have to be able to leave your ego at the door, as they say. Right, and strip your ego off this thing and say, listen, whatever you have to do to help us perform to win, and then that's what we need. And are you willing to do that? And we ask those questions. So it's not a shock to your system when you come in and say, well, I have to share carries, or I have to, I'm maybe not the number one receiver that everyone goes to. We have a lot of guys that can play. And at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer of this too, that at the end of the day, Bill, everyone's going to get theirs. If we have the success that we all desire to have, and we all covet, every single person will get theirs in the end. And so I won't say we, I try to recruit to that.